Well, let's get straight into it then. The new EP, Skull Soldiers, is only 2 days away. It might even be already out by the time this video goes up. So far, what I've heard is awesome. It's obviously a continuation of Wolves of Karelia. And I think that's reflected in the artwork as well. The artwork is very similar.
Yeah.
Obviously, this time more of a skull than a wolf. But
yeah.
Yeah. Did you always intend to have it so close to Wolves of Karelia?
Yeah, it is like a sequel in a way.
Okay.
Because there was some stories that I kind of like left out from the Wolves of Karelia. Not left out. I actually managed to miss one of the coolest stories of that war. Yeah, and I was told about the Skull Soldiers by one American reporter. Okay. And I thought I did a very good and thorough background work, but I completely missed existence of those guys. So when the label was asking would we be interested of doing something smaller as a release, that was a perfect opportunity for me to continue that story. And I gave the graphic guy also that we've been using for past 6 years now, very strict orders that it has to look like it's part of the Wolves of the Karelia without actually looking like the same cover. So everything was planned and executed to be as a sequel.
Cool. I mean, I know a little bit about the Winter War, but having Wolves of Karelia and now Skull Soldiers to go along with it, it's an excellent opportunity to really find out more about it because it is absolutely fascinating.
It is. If you compare it to an overall war history, there's a lot of very unique statistics and stuff like that, and it brought up some of very historical soldiers like the White Death, for example. So it is it was very huge thing for Finland as a country, the Winter War and the war that continued afterwards. But of course, it didn't play that much of a role when it comes to the European scale of the Second World War. But of course, for our small country to be independent right now, that was the key factor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at what the Soviet Union were able to accomplish in that time. You know, they just went all the way into Germany, and a small country like Finland is able to go fuck off. So
it wasn't that easy, but that's where it ended up. Yeah.
So you mentioned that it was the label's suggestion to do something smaller.
Yeah.
Once Wolves of Karelia was done, was there any intent to revisit this subject again at any point?
When the Karelia was done, I thought this is gonna be the album about the Winter War, but then this whole pandemic happened, and it cut the lifespan of the album insanely short. After the previous album, we did about 140 gigs in 4 different continents, and we played 0 gigs after the Wolves of Karelia. So it was naturally a huge damage for the album, and to have this a small sequel pulls the Wolves of Karelia. We are talking about the album now, so it kind of gives a second round for the album also. And there was another plan behind this whole EP release. We were supposed to start touring again this spring.
Yeah.
And scheduling the EP for March would have been ideal timing for the tours that were supposed to happen, which again don't happen. But nobody saw that coming last fall when we did this plan. But that was also one of the plans was keep us active, being able to bring new stuff for the fans because we weren't unable to do any tours, and kick the next touring cycle with the new release, but that got fucked up as well.
Yeah, as things will be.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool way to keep the Wolves of Karelia name out there, as well as Skull Soldiers. Because there's a lot of bands that have released an album recently or in the past year or so, and it's well, we can do a live stream gig here and there, but not really too much to do. Whereas with an EP, that's something really fresh and exciting to have. The songs on the EP, were these written at the same time as Wolves of Karelia, like
No,
music-wise?
both new songs were written for this. So it's not like we didn't use any leftovers from the previous album. The only thing that followed from the album was the theme.
Yeah.
None of the music was. Everything was. I started writing the songs when we started talking about the plan with the label about releasing the EP.
Okay. And the EP, like the previous two albums, this released through Napalm Records as well. How's the relationship with the label been thus far?
It goes really well. They are very flexible towards us, and at the same time, I so far have had a full freedom of do whatever I want. Not that I would do anything stupid, or I do know how the music business works and what I should do for the band and the label to keep things moving on. But I get to do the stuff that I want. I don't have any a change when it comes to the style of music or what kind of albums. I basically, so far with both full lengths and this EP, I just do the album the way I want, deliver them everything with the videos and the graphics and the music, and they just do their job from there. So for me, it's total freedom. And what I've seen so far, they do a really good job with the promotion and releasing the album. So it's no complaints from our side.
Good. It's always nice. I think you can, as a listener and as a fan, you can tell when a band has creative freedom, because the band themselves sound happier, even as dark as the music might be.
Yeah, but
you can definitely hear it.
Yeah, and always when you if you are forced to start filtering ideas, then even though label might know what might sell better, they do know that financial side, and that's what they do. They sell albums. They know that side better, but the music doesn't become better when you're trying to do better in a wrong sense of way. So it's and naturally I've been there before. In my past I've done all the shitty contracts and bad situations with the band and the label already. So it's after 20 years of releasing albums, it's pretty okay to find a label now that I don't have any issues with. So.
Cool. Well, you mentioned before finding out about the Skull Soldiers. For those of us, including myself, that aren't too familiar with who they were, could you please explain a little bit?
They were the small special units that fought. They fought in other wars on the Second World War also that we had with Russia, but they played a key role in a few of the main battles of the Winter War. And there's very small amount of information about them. It was I only found 2 photos altogether and a very small amount of stories. But they were the special unit, and they were painting skulls and skeletons on their helmets.
Okay.
So it's and there was a few really cool stories about them, and but yeah, it's very poorly documented.
Okay.
If you put Winter War in any kind of search or Wikipedia, that's not the thing you're gonna find out. That's why I wasn't aware of that, and their background goes to more deeper in the history. They were this. It started as this. What is the word in English when you have soldiers on horses? They have this own cavalry.
Mounted. Oh, cavalry.
Yeah. So it started somewhere else, and that was just they just resurfaced on this Winter War.
Okay.
And I thought the cooler thing is that it's so mystical because there was so small amount of written about the guys, but they were there, and this I can't give much of a background. There's one news article found in one Finnish newspaper that basically covers something about them. So that's
That's cool, man. Having something that has that mystique and everything, but it's still a real thing and real part of history and everything. Yeah, the work's great for metal.
And it gives a lot more room for imagination.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it, like you said, is soldiers in this heroic war in super cold conditions, having skulls on their helmets. What is more metal topic for a song? That's
Yeah.
the yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we, as a general populace outside of Finland, we don't tend to study the Winter War too much. I mean, over here we're taught very briefly in school that Russia tried to invade Finland and it didn't go very well.
Yeah,
and that's basically it.
yeah,
You know.
Yeah, but that's what the role that's what the role it played in the Second World War. In the whole scale of the war, that was the whole story. It was only like the significance of that war. It was mainly for the Finnish people, and that's 5 million people living in a small country that doesn't play a huge role in the European scale still. So, and we weren't even like a gateway country to the continent of Europe that we would have stopped the invasion and spared other countries. So it was mainly just Russia wanting to invade Finland without any further plans like they had with fighting against Nazi Germany. So it is a small story. Only if you dig into the details you start finding the statistics very fascinating. But I do understand why it's not familiar or that much like taught in schools or everything outside Finland, because it just makes sense. It wasn't that big of a deal.
And in Finland, is it like a huge deal? You have like a national holiday to commemorate it or anything like that?
We don't have a holiday, but it is a huge deal still. Like every Independence Day, it comes up very strongly.
Yeah.
And there some of the veterans are still alive, and we have this independence celebration in the it's not a castle or palace, but this something similar of the president, and they are hosting this Independence Day celebration there, and they always invite the veterans,
cool,
which are still alive or which are able to join. But it is like it's not like it's a it could be in a wrong way big deal, but it's like there's a lot of respect for those events because it's not that far. Those guys, some like small amount, but still some of those guys are still alive.
Yeah,
it's not that far in the history that like it should be respected in a healthy way. Not to make too much about it, but
yeah,
that is the reason why we speak Finnish in Finland. And my home village is just is right on the next to the Russian border, and my father's family has had a farm there for like 200 years, and the new border is 7 kilometers away.
Wow.
So, like in my childhood, I was always aware that Russia is just stone throw away, and there was some cannons on the hills of the village pointing to Russia, and there were some monuments of the soldiers that died on the war, which wasn't a big deal when I was a kid. But like growing older, starting connecting the dots, like what actually stuff meant, and actually finding out this, I found out just last winter when I was visiting my father in my home village, that the building where I saw my first concert when I was like 11 or something, that building was used as a headquarters on the war that continued after the Winter War. So a lot of the actual still buildings and places of that village were part of those wars. So I think it's very like important to understand the history and appreciate the stuff that should be. There's a lot of shameful stuff in Finnish history, like I guess every country has. Like we have our own civil war. Finnish people didn't treat the Sami people that were the original, like a northern people, that well after the war. So there's a lot of things like a good and bad you should be able to learn. Like appreciate the good ones and learn the more shameful parts of each country's history. It's back to the original question. It is a big deal. Yeah.
Wow, that's quite interesting. You know, I mean, obviously, being English, over here is kind of the case. You grow up thinking you're the best country in the world. When you get a bit older, and you find out that we're kind of arseholes, really.
Yeah, I think it's, every country has that part in the history, because that's just it's been as humans in different generations, and then we sometimes fuck up really badly, and we follow wrong leaders. That's just it shouldn't be like a shame of our generation. It should be just a thing to learn about.
Yeah, absolutely.
But everybody should understand all the sides of their home country's histories to understand like fully the roots, because there's shitty stuff and there's good stuff. There's no country that is better than the others when you dig deep enough.
Absolutely right. It's something we can definitely learn from, not just in terms of our own ethnicity and heritage, but also with relations to everyone else.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me this evening. I really do appreciate it.
I'm glad we finally got this happening.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we got it done. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting interview. I've definitely learned a few things, which is always a plus.
Yeah, I always like to talk about history, and I've been talking so much about music lately, so it was very refreshing to go a little bit more into the background than just talking directly about my band. So it was really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I could talk about history all day, but I don't think that's what people are clicking on videos for.
Yeah, that probably is correct.
Yeah, and then there'll be another YouTube video where it'll be like Finnish historian reacts to Wolfheart interview.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much. Kiitos.
Thank you. Ole hyvä.